The doors to the meeting room slid open with a soft hiss. Ambassador Jack Morrison walked in, his black shoes clicking against the crystal floor. The room was huge, with walls that seemed to glow from within. 12 different alien species sat around a circular table, their strange forms casting odd shadows in the pale light. Morrison took his seat, the only human in a room full of creatures that looked nothing like him. To his left sat a Zorvath, its 4 arms folded across its chest. Its red eyes watched him with cold interest. The Zorvath were warriors, everyone knew that. They had destroyed many worlds that tried to fight them. The Zorvath representative stood up. It was massive, at least 8 feet tall, with gray skin that looked like stone. When it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding metal. The Zorvath Empire has made its final decision, it said. Humans must leave all colonies outside your home system. You have 30 cycles to obey. If you refuse, we will destroy every human world we find. The room fell silent. Other species looked at Morrison, waiting for his response. The Ketheri ambassador, a creature that looked like a giant praying mantis, tilted its head. The soft-spoken Etherians, beings made of light and mist, floated near the ceiling, watching. Morrison opened his briefcase slowly. He pulled out a single sheet of paper and looked at it. The other delegates leaned forward, expecting him to argue, to negotiate, maybe even beg. Humans were known for their talking. They always wanted to make deals. But Morrison did something no one expected. He put the paper back in his briefcase, closed it, and stood up. "I see," he said quietly. Then he turned and walked toward the door. The Zorvath representative slammed one of its fists on the table. "You have nothing to say. No counteroffer. No plea for mercy." Morrison stopped at the door, but didn't turn around. "No," he said. "We heard you clearly." "Then you accept our terms?" the Zorvath asked, confusion creeping into its voice. Morrison looked over his shoulder. His face showed no emotion at all. "We heard you," he repeated. Then he walked out. The door closed behind him, leaving the room in shocked silence. The Ketheri ambassador's antennae twitched nervously. Even the ancient Etherians seemed surprised, their forms flickering with uncertainty. "What just happened?" asked the Vorthan delegate, a small creature with 6 eyes. The Zorvath representative looked around the room, suddenly less confident than before. In all their conquests, no species had ever responded like this. They always negotiated. They always tried to find a way out. They showed fear, anger, desperation. Something. But the human had shown nothing. Outside the meeting room, Morrison walked down the long corridor toward his ship. His assistant, a young woman named Kate Price, fell into step beside him. "How did it go, sir?" she asked. "Exactly as we expected," Morrison replied. "Send the message to Earth. Tell them the Zorvath chose war." Kate nodded and pulled out her communication device. As they walked, she typed a short message. "Phoenix Protocol authorized. 30 cycles to implementation." Back in the meeting room, the various ambassadors argued about what the human's strange behavior meant. The Zorvath representative claimed it was fear, that humans were too scared to even respond. Others weren't so sure. Only the eldest Etherian, a being who had lived for thousands of years, remained quiet. It had seen many species face extinction. It had watched dozens of civilizations fall to the Zorvath war machine. But it had never seen a response like this. As the arguments continued, the Etherian drifted toward the window that looked out at the stars. Somewhere among those points of light were the human worlds. Worlds that the Zorvath had just threatened to destroy. The Etherian wondered if the Zorvath understood what they had just done. It doubted they did. The human silence wasn't fear. It was something far more dangerous. It was calculation. 7 days passed without a single word from Earth. The Galactic consul's communication channels, usually filled with human messages, fell completely silent. No diplomatic notes, no trade requests, no angry protests. Nothing. In the command center of the consul station, Several alien delegates gathered around the main display. The screen showed Earth and its colonies, marked with blue dots across the star map. Usually, these dots pulsed with activity as messages traveled between worlds. Now they sat still and quiet. "This is very unusual," said Ambassador Vex of the Ketheri. Her compound eyes reflected the dim light of the displays. "Humans always talk. They talk when they're happy, when they're angry, especially when they're scared." The Zorveth commander, a thick-set warrior named Grax, stood with his 4 arms crossed. "They're afraid," he said with confidence. "They know they cannot win, so they say nothing." But the Etherian elder, whose name was too complex for most species to pronounce, drifted closer to the screen. "Fear makes noise," it whispered. "This is not fear." On Earth, deep beneath the Antarctic ice, Admiral Lisa Chen stood in the center of strategic command. Huge screens surrounded her, showing every human world, every ship, every station. Her staff worked quietly at their posts, their faces calm and focused. "Status report," Chen said. "All colonies have received the Phoenix Protocol instructions," reported Commander Alex Reed. "Civilian evacuations are proceeding on schedule." "How many people are we moving?" Chen asked. 12 billion from the outer colonies, Admiral. They're being relocated to the core worlds." Chen nodded. "And the infrastructure?" Reed pulled up another display. "Modifications are already underway. Every mining laser, every power station, every orbital platform is being converted according to plan. Time frame: 22 days until full implementation." Chen looked at the star map. Red dots marked Zorveth territory, surrounding human space like a closing fist. The Zorveth had the largest fleet in known space. Their weapons could crack planets open. In a direct fight, humanity would lose in days. But this wouldn't be a direct fight. In orbit around the colony world of New Haven, Captain Sam Williams supervised the work crews. They were busy turning a simple mining station into something very different. The station's massive drilling laser, designed to break apart asteroids, was being connected to a military targeting system. "Captain," said his engineer, Maria Gonzalez, "the Zorvath patrol ship is hailing us again." Williams sighed. The Zorvath had been watching them for days, curious about the activity. "Put them through." The screen filled with the face of a Zorvath officer. "Human captain," it growled. "You are modifying your mining equipment." "Explain." Williams smiled. "Just routine maintenance, making things more efficient. You are preparing to abandon this world." "Oh, we're leaving," Williams said. "But we believe in leaving things tidy for the next owners." The Zorvath officer's red eyes narrowed. "You speak in riddles, human." "Do I? My apologies. We're just simple miners doing our job." The communication ended. Williams turned to Gonzalez. "How long until the laser is ready?" 6 more days, Captain. Then this mining station will be able to target anything within 3 light seconds. Across human space, the same scene repeated on hundreds of worlds. Mining stations became weapon platforms. Communication satellites turned into targeting systems. Power plants prepared to channel their entire output into single massive bursts of energy. And through it all, humanity maintained its silence. In the Galactic Consul, anxiety grew. The Vorthan delegate approached the Zorvath commander. "Perhaps we should send another message. Ask for their response." Grax laughed. "Let them cower in silence. In 23 days, our fleets will move. Then they will beg for mercy." The Etherian elder watched this exchange and said nothing. It had noticed something others had missed. Human civilian ships were moving in organized patterns, evacuating the outer worlds. But they weren't running in panic. They moved with purpose, like pieces on a game board. The elder had lived long enough to recognize a trap being set. But would anyone listen to an old being's warnings? Probably not. The silence continued. The human fleets began to withdraw. Massive carrier ships, smaller frigates, and patrol vessels all turned away from the frontier and headed back toward Earth. On the borders of human space, monitoring stations went dark one by one. It looked like a full retreat. Commander Grax watched from his warship's bridge as human vessels abandoned their positions. He turned to his second-in-command, a younger Zorvath named Krex. "Look at them run," Grax said with satisfaction, "like scared animals fleeing before the storm." "Should we pursue them, Commander?" Krex asked. "No, let them go. We will take their worlds as planned. Empty colonies are easier to conquer than defended ones." On the consul station, other species watched the human withdrawal with mixed feelings. The Ketheri ambassador called an emergency meeting. The humans appear to be complying with Zorvath demands. She announced to the assembled delegates, "Their fleets are pulling back." "Cowards," spat the Zorvath representative. "We should have crushed them years ago." But the Etherian elder floated near the viewing window, watching the human ships leave. Something bothered it about the retreat. The ships moved too precisely, too organized. And they noticed something else. The humans weren't taking their infrastructure with them. "Curious," the elder whispered. "What troubles you?" asked a young Etherian beside it. "Watch the mining stations, the power plants, the communication arrays. Humans are leaving them all behind. Perhaps they're in too much hurry to dismantle them." The elder's form flickered with doubt. Perhaps, or perhaps they have other plans. On the abandoned colony of Cirrus Station, Captain Sam Williams made final checks with his skeleton crew. Only 50 people remained where once thousands had lived and worked. The evacuation ships had taken everyone else days ago. "All civilians are clear," reported his security chief, Danny Park. "We're the last ones here." Williams nodded and looked around the empty command center. Through the windows, he could see the modified mining lasers pointed at empty space. To anyone watching, they looked offline and abandoned. "Maria, how's our special project?" Williams asked his engineer. Maria Gonzalez grinned. "The asteroid processors are ready. We've linked 12 of them into a single network. When activated, they'll create an energy pulse visible from 3 systems away. And the targeting systems, hidden but operational. They'll look dead until we flip the switch." Williams walked to the main console and entered his command codes. A single red button appeared on the screen, labeled simply ARM. He pressed it. Nothing visible happened. No lights flashed. No alarms sounded. But deep in the station's computers, sleeping systems woke up. Across human space, hundreds of similar stations received the same wake-up command. "Phoenix Protocol armed," Williams announced. "Time to leave." The last human shuttle departed Cirrus Station an hour later. Behind them, the colony looked dead and abandoned. Mining equipment sat idle. Lights were off. To any scanner, it would appear completely powered down. 3 days later, Zorvath advance scouts arrived at the outer human colonies. They found empty cities, abandoned space stations, and silent orbital platforms. Everything valuable had been stripped away. Only the basic infrastructure remained. "Pathetic," reported Scout Leader Vrex to Commander Grax. "They fled like scared children, taking only what they could carry. Any resistance? None. They left some equipment behind. Mining lasers, communication arrays, power generators. All useless junk now." Grax smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Good. Begin marking territories for colonization. These worlds belong to the Empire now." But on the ancient trade ship Whisper of Stars, an old Etherian merchant named Flux noticed something odd. It had been trading with humans for centuries and knew their ways. "Strange," Flux told its partner. "Humans never waste anything. Why leave so much equipment behind?" "Perhaps they had no choice," the partner suggested. "The Zorvath deadline approaches." Flux studied the sensor readings from the abandoned colonies. The equipment wasn't just left behind. It had been modified first. Cables ran between structures that shouldn't be connected. Power plants linked to mining lasers. Communication towers connected to targeting computers. "No," Flux whispered. They left it behind on purpose. The countdown continued, 20 days until the Zordath deadline, and across human space, silent weapons waited in the dark. On Cycle 29, Commander Kraxtor led the Zorvath Advance Fleet to New Eden. The planet had been one of humanity's proudest colonies, with 3 billion residents and vast farming territories. Now it looked empty from orbit, its cities dark and quiet. "Scan the planet," Kraxtor ordered from his command chair. "No life signs in the major cities," reported his science officer. "The humans have truly abandoned this world." Kraxtor smiled. Tomorrow was the deadline, and the humans had given up without a fight. His fleet of 200 warships spread out in orbit, ready to claim their prize. "Shall we land the occupation forces?" asked his tactical officer. "Not yet. First, check those structures they left behind. I want no surprises." The scanners swept over the abandoned human infrastructure. Mining stations floated in orbit, their massive drills pointed at nothing. Communication satellites drifted silently. On the planet's 3 moons, more equipment sat idle and forgotten. "Sir," the science officer said, frowning at his display, "I'm reading strange energy patterns from the lunar installations." "What kind of patterns?" "Unknown. The mining stations on the moons appear to be connected somehow. There are power conduits linking them in a network configuration I don't recognize." Kraxtor stood up. "Show me." The main screen displayed the 3 moons of New Eden. Each moon had been extensively mined by humans, leaving them hollowed out in places. The mining equipment was still there, but now connected by a web of cables and energy conduits. "What am I looking at?" Kraxtor demanded. Before anyone could answer, every piece of abandoned equipment on the planet and its moons suddenly came alive. Lights flashed on across the surface. In orbit, dead satellites sparked to life. The mining lasers swiveled, no longer pointing at rocks, but tracking the Zordath ships. "Energy spike," the tactical officer shouted. "Massive power buildup in all human structures." Then the signals began. Every human building, every satellite, every orbital platform started broadcasting the same message on all frequencies. "We tried peace. You chose war. What comes next is on you." The message repeated over and over, filling every communication channel. It wasn't just happening at New Eden. Reports flooded in from other Zorvath scouts at different human colonies. The same message played everywhere. "Shut it down," Kraxtor roared. "I can't. They're overriding our systems." The science officer's face turned pale. "Commander, the hollowed-out sections of the moons. They're not from mining. The humans turned the entire moons into massive weapon platforms." "That's impossible. The power requirements alone." "They connected everything, sir. Every fusion reactor, every solar collector, every geothermal tap on the planet. It's all feeding into those lunar installations." Kraxtor felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Uncertainty. "Target those installations. Destroy them." "Sir, if we fire on structures containing that much stored energy." The commander understood. Attacking the lunar weapons might trigger an explosion that would destroy his entire fleet. On Earth, Admiral Chen watched the events unfold from Strategic Command. "How many Zorvath fleets have reached our abandoned colonies?" 17 fleets at last count, Reed reported, all experiencing the same revelation. Chen nodded. "Open a channel to the Galactic Consul. It's time for Ambassador Morrison to deliver our message." At the mining moon of New Eden, the truth became horrifyingly clear to Kraxtor. The humans hadn't abandoned anything. They had turned their entire colonial infrastructure into the largest minefield in galactic history. Every mining laser was now a weapons platform. Every power plant was a bomb waiting to explode. Every communication satellite was part of a targeting system that could coordinate attacks across light years of space. The humans had sacrificed their colonies to create a trap that the Zorvath had walked right into. "Commander," his communication officer said with a shaking voice, "we're receiving a priority signal from the Emperor himself." Put it through. The Emperor's face appeared on screen, and for the first time in living memory, he looked concerned. All fleets are to hold position. Do not engage the human installations. We need to reconsider our approach. Crackstor stared at the armed moons of New Eden. The deadline was tomorrow, but suddenly it felt like the humans were the ones setting the terms. The hunter had become the hunted. Ambassador Morrison entered the Galactic consul chamber for the second time in 30 days. This time, he didn't come alone. 3 human military officers followed him, their uniforms crisp and their faces calm. The room fell silent as they walked to the center. Every delegate was present. The Zorvath representative sat stiffly, its 4 arms no longer crossed in dominance, but held carefully at its sides. The Ketheri ambassador's antennae twitched nervously. Even the ancient Etherians seemed more alert than usual. Morrison set up a holographic projector and cleared his throat. Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all species, 30 days ago, you witnessed the Zorvath Empire threaten humanity with extinction. Today, I'm here to explain our response. The projector came to life, showing the 3-dimensional map of human space. Hundreds of blue dots marked human colonies. As the delegates watched, each dot transformed into a red targeting symbol. For the past month, Morrison continued, you assumed we were retreating. You were wrong. We were preparing. The hologram zoomed in on a single colony world. The image showed mining stations, power plants, and communication arrays all connected by a vast network of cables and energy conduits. Every piece of infrastructure we left behind has been converted into a weapon. Every mining laser can now target ships. Every fusion reactor can overload on command. Every moon we hollowed out for resources has become a massive gun platform. The Vorthan delegate spoke up, its 6 eyes wide with disbelief. That's impossible. The engineering requirements alone. Admiral Chen stepped forward. We started this project 50 years ago, the day we made first contact with alien life. We called it the Dead Hand Protocol, a final insurance policy if diplomacy failed. The hologram changed, showing footage from the mining moon at New Eden. The single mining laser fired, its beam striking an asteroid. The asteroid didn't just break apart, it completely vaporized, leaving nothing but expanding gas. That was one laser, Chen said. We have thousands, all connected, all aimed, all waiting. The Zorvath representative finally spoke. You're bluffing. No species would turn their own worlds into weapons. Morrison smiled coldly. Would you like a demonstration? He nodded to one of the officers, who pulled out a communication device. The hologram shifted to show an uninhabited system at the edge of human space. A single abandoned mining station floated near a small moon. This is mining station Zeta 9 in the Proxima system. No one lives there. No one will miss it. The officer pressed a button. On the hologram, the mining station's reactors began to glow brighter. The energy readings climbed rapidly. Then, in a flash of light that the sensors could barely process, the station exploded. The explosion cracked the moon in half. The shockwave was detected in 3 neighboring systems. The consul chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. Some called for evacuation. Others demanded more information. The Zorvath representative had turned a pale gray color. Morrison raised his hand for silence. That was one station. We have 437 similar installations across our former colonies. Each one is a bomb. Each one is aimed at major population centers throughout the galaxy. He pulled up another display. Red lines connected human installations to Zorvath worlds, Ketheri colonies, Vorthan trading posts, and even some Etherian sanctuaries. We call it mutually assured destruction, Morrison explained. If you destroy us, we take you with us. Every last one of you. The eldest Etherian finally spoke. You would commit genocide. No, Morrison replied. We would prevent it. The weapons only activate if Earth falls. As long as humanity survives, The dead hand remains inactive. Dr. Amy Rodriguez, one of the officers, added, "We studied your histories. The Zorveth have conquered 17 species. The Ketheri enslaved 6. Even the peaceful Etherians once destroyed an entire civilization they deemed unworthy. We learned from your examples." Morrison looked directly at the Zorveth representative. "You gave us an ultimatum. Here's ours. Leave human space forever. Recognize our sovereignty. Never threaten us again. You have 1 hour to decide." The room fell silent. The most powerful species in the galaxy had just been checkmated by the newest and supposedly weakest member. And they all knew it. The hour that followed was the longest in Galactic Consul history. No one left the chamber. No one spoke. Every delegate sat frozen, processing what they had just learned about humanity. The Zorveth representative had called for an emergency connection to their homeworld. Emperor Zarlok himself appeared on the main screen, his usual confident demeanor replaced by something the galaxy had never seen before: uncertainty. "Is it true?" The Emperor asked his representative. "Have the humans really done this?" "Yes, Your Majesty. Our fleets confirm it. Every abandoned human colony is armed. The weapons are real." The Emperor's 4 arms clenched and unclenched. For 300 years, the Zorveth Empire had expanded through force. They had the largest fleet, the best weapons, the most feared warriors. Now, a species with barely 50 years of space travel had made all of that meaningless. "Can we destroy their weapons before they activate?" the Emperor asked. Commander Crackster's image appeared on another screen, transmitting from New Eden. "Negative, Your Majesty. Any attack on the installations would trigger massive explosions. We would lose our fleets and potentially damage our own nearby systems." The Ketheri ambassador stood up. "This affects all of us. The humans have targeted everyone. Only if Earth falls," Morrison reminded them calmly. "The system is purely defensive." "You call planet-breaking weapons defensive?" The Vorthan delegate squeaked. Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward. "We studied Earth's nature documentaries to understand ourselves better. Do you know what a porcupine is?" The aliens looked confused. "It's a small Earth mammal covered in sharp quills. It can't run fast. It can't fight well. But nothing attacks it because the cost is too high. That's what humanity has become. The galaxy's porcupine." The Etherian elder drifted closer to Morrison. "You planned this from the beginning." "From the moment we discovered we weren't alone," Morrison confirmed. "We hoped we'd never need it. We tried diplomacy, trade, cultural exchange. But we also prepared for the worst." "Why didn't you tell us?" asked the Ketheri ambassador. Admiral Chen answered. "Would you have let us build it if you knew? A defensive system that could destroy worlds. You would have attacked us immediately." She was right, and everyone knew it. The Emperor's voice cut through the discussion. "What are your exact terms?" Morrison pulled up a simple document. "Complete withdrawal of all Zorveth forces from human space. A treaty recognizing human sovereignty over our current systems and any we peacefully colonize in the future. A non-aggression pact with all species present. And most importantly, you never threaten our extinction again. And if we refuse, then we all die together," Morrison said simply. "Earth has bunkers deep enough to preserve our species. We'll rebuild. Can you say the same after your homeworlds are cracked open?" The Emperor turned to his advisors off-screen. Heated discussion in the Zorveth language followed. Other species began their own urgent conversations. The Ketheri ambassador was frantically calling their queen. The Vorthan delegate had actually fainted and was being revived by its assistants. Only the Etherians remained calm. The eldest approached Morrison. "Remarkable. You've turned weakness into strength, violence into peace, isolation into security." "We learned from history," Morrison replied. "Both yours and ours." 40 minutes passed. Finally, the Emperor reappeared. His massive frame seemed somehow smaller now. "The Zorveth Empire accepts your terms," he said, each word clearly painful. We will withdraw immediately. One by one, other species agreed. The Ketheri, the Vorthans, even proud species who had never bent to anyone before. They all accepted humanity's terms. Morrison nodded. Thank you. Dr. Rodriguez will provide the treaty documents. Once signed, we'll begin deactivating the outer perimeter of weapons as a show of good faith. You're not deactivating all of them, the Zorvath representative asked. Morrison smiled. No, some will remain. Forever. Because we've learned that in this galaxy, peace is just another word for preparation time. The most powerful species in the galaxy had just been defeated by the newest, and they hadn't fired a single shot. 6 months later, space looked very different. Zorvath warships no longer patrolled human borders. The massive fleets that once threatened Earth had retreated to their own territories. Trade routes reopened. Civilian ships traveled freely between worlds. On New Eden, Captain Sam Williams supervised the deactivation of some weapons. His crew carefully disconnected mining lasers from their targeting systems, returning them to their original purpose. But not all of them. Several installations remained armed, silent guardians in the dark. How many are we keeping active? Asked Maria Gonzalez. About 30%, Williams replied. Enough to make sure nobody forgets. Earth had become the center of diplomatic activity. The new Galactic Council, no longer called the Consul, met on humanity's homeworld. The building stood in Geneva, Switzerland, its design incorporating architectural elements from all member species. Ambassador Morrison walked through the main hall with the Etherian elder. Delegates from dozens of worlds moved past them, no longer separated by fear or suspicion. Your people have changed the galaxy, the elder observed. We just wanted to be left alone, Morrison said. Sometimes the best way to ensure peace is to make war too expensive. The elder's form shimmered with what might have been amusement. You turned your weakness into a knife at everyone's throat. Now they all fear you. Good, Morrison replied. Better to be feared and alive than loved and extinct. In the military command center, Admiral Chen met with representatives from former enemy species. The Zorvath had sent General Krex, the same officer who had once planned humanity's destruction. Now he worked on joint defense initiatives. The Dead Hand Protocol has created an interesting situation, Krex said. No one dares attack anyone else. The risk is too great. Chen nodded. Mutual assured destruction. It worked on Earth for centuries. Now it works for the galaxy. But what happens when someone finds a way around it? Then we'll build something worse, Chen said simply. Humans are very good at that. The change affected more than just military matters. Human colonies that had been evacuated slowly repopulated. Families returned to New Eden, to Sarah's Station, to dozens of worlds. But they returned to changed places. Every building could become a weapon. Every power plant could become a bomb. Children grew up knowing their playgrounds had hidden gun emplacements. Farmers worked fields near reactors that could crack continents. It was a strange new normal. Dr. Rodriguez gave lectures at the Galactic University on Earth. Students from many species came to learn about human psychology and strategy. Why did your people choose this path? Asked a young Ketheri student. Rodriguez pulled up images from Earth's history. We spent thousands of years killing each other. We nearly destroyed our world multiple times. When we reached space, we promised ourselves, never again. We would not be victims. But you've made the entire galaxy your hostage, a Vorthan student protested. No, Rodriguez corrected. We've made everyone equally vulnerable. That's different. She showed them the current star map. Human space was marked in blue, surrounded by other species' territories. But now, thin red lines connected everything. The targeting solutions of the Dead Hand Protocol. These lines keep the peace, she explained. Everyone knows that attacking Earth means their own destruction. It's the ultimate deterrent. The eldest Etherian had been right about one thing. Humanity was now feared throughout the galaxy. But that fear brought something unexpected. Respect. Species that had dismissed humans as weak now sought their alliance. Trade flourished. Technology was shared. The galaxy entered an age of unprecedented cooperation, all because humanity had refused to be anyone's victim. Morrison stood in his office, looking at Earth through the window. His assistant, Kate Price, brought him reports from the outer colonies. "All systems report normal," she said. "No aggressive movements from any species." "Of course not," Morrison smiled. "We're all standing on the same bomb now." He turned back to his desk, where a plaque sat with humanity's new motto, "Peace through strength." Below it, in smaller letters, someone had added, "And really big guns." The galaxy had learned humanity's most important lesson. Sometimes the best defense is a terrible offense. 1 year after the peace talks failed, Ambassador Morrison stood in the new Geneva Council chamber. Representatives from every known species filled the room, a sight that would have been impossible just months before. The anniversary meeting had drawn everyone. Morrison approached the podium, and the room quieted. Behind him, a holographic display showed the famous image from that day, the moment he had walked out of the original peace talks in silence. 1 year ago, Morrison began, the Zorvath Empire gave humanity an ultimatum: surrender or die. Today, I stand before you in a galaxy where no species threatens another with extinction. He paused, looking at the Zorvath section. General Krex nodded respectfully. The warrior who once planned humanity's destruction now wore a medal of peaceful cooperation on his uniform. "We didn't want this role," Morrison continued. "Humanity never sought to hold the galaxy at gunpoint. We simply refused to be anyone's victim." The display changed, showing the Dead Hand Protocol network. Red lines connected human installations to worlds across the galaxy. But now, green lines appeared too: trade routes, cultural exchanges, scientific partnerships. "Fear brought us together," Morrison said, "but something else keeps us here: understanding." In the audience, young diplomat Lisa Wong from New Eden whispered to her colleague, "Hard to believe it's only been a year." Her Cathari companion clicked in agreement. "My people called humans primitive. Now we study your deterrence theory in our military academies." The ceremony continued with speeches from other species. The Etherian elders spoke of wisdom through strength. The Cathari queen praised humanity's restraint. Even Emperor Zarlok appeared by hologram, acknowledging the new reality. But the most significant moment came from an unexpected source. A young Zorvath stepped forward, Krex's daughter, born after the crisis. "I grew up hearing stories of human weakness," she said. "My father told me they were prey, meant to be conquered. But humans taught us something we never understood. Sometimes the smallest fang carries the deadliest venom." After the ceremony, Morrison met privately with the original human team. Admiral Chen, Dr. Rodriguez, and the others who had orchestrated humanity's survival gathered in a secure room. "Did you ever think it would work?" asked Captain Williams, in from New Eden for the anniversary. Chen smiled. "We had backup plans. If the bluff failed." "It wasn't a bluff," Rodriguez interrupted. "We would have done it. They knew it. That's why it worked." Morrison pulled up a classified report. "The real question is what comes next. Other species are trying to copy our protocol." "Let them," Chen said. "The more species that have it, the safer everyone becomes. We've already shared the basic theory with our allies." Williams frowned. "Isn't that dangerous, giving everyone the same weapon?" "No," Morrison explained. "It's brilliant. If everyone can destroy everyone else, nobody will try. Earth's old nuclear deterrence, but galactic." Later that evening, Morrison stood on the observation deck of the council building. Earth hung in the sky, blue and peaceful. Kate Price joined him with the day's final reports. "The Vorthen are requesting more details about our early warning systems," she said. "Approve it," Morrison replied. "The more they know we're watching, the safer we are." "Sir, I have to ask, how long did we really plan this?" Morrison smiled. The moment we detected the first alien signal 70 years ago, before we even made contact, we knew that in a galaxy with older, stronger species, we had two choices: become predators or become something predators feared. And we chose fear. We chose survival. Fear was just the tool. As night fell over Earth, monitoring stations across human space continued their vigil. The weapons remained armed. The watchers stayed alert. Peace reigned not through trust or friendship, but through the terrible certainty of mutual annihilation. The young Zorveth diplomat had been right. Humanity had proven that sometimes the smallest fang did carry the deadliest venom. And the galaxy would never forget that lesson.